Rachel and Brett Dabe were excited to be expecting their first child. Then out of the blue came a shocking diagnosis. They found themselves learning more about congenital hydrocephalus than they'd ever imagined. In the face of dismal predictions, they made a bold decision that would forever change the lives of their family. Rachel, what was it like for you when you first found out you were pregnant?
I was excited. We had decided to have a baby, and I got pregnant pretty quickly, and I was excited. It was about Christmas time, so it was a great Christmas present.
How were you feeling physically during the pregnancy?
There were problems. Right after we found out I was pregnant, got some bad news. I was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes. There was a concern as to whether I would even carry the baby full term, because a lot of times mothers who are diabetics tend to have large babies.
Pregnant women with uncontrolled type 1 diabetes, like Rachel, are at a higher risk for carrying an extra large baby or a baby with a birth defect. Uncontrolled blood sugar levels negatively affects the stages of fetal development, and it can possibly cause serious developmental defects to the baby's brain, spine, and heart, all of which begin to form by the 4th week of a baby's life. Tell me a little bit about how things were going the day you found out. You went to the doctor with your mother-in-law.
Yeah, I was excited to take her with me because she had never seen an ultrasound before, so it was going to be neat to see her first grandchild on the screen.
As a diabetic, Rachel would normally get an obstetric ultrasound or a level 2 ultrasound. This enables the technician to check the baby's brain, heart, kidney, and amniotic fluid volume. However, this particular ultrasound visit was simply checking the growth of the baby, or so they thought.
The tech was very quiet through the ultrasound, which, okay, I didn't know the lady, so okay, maybe that's fine. But then she said she had to go talk to the doctor. And at that point, I knew something was wrong.
Something neither Rachel nor Rachel's mother-in-law were ready for. So you were with Rachel when she went to the doctor?
Yes.
As grandma, this is your first grandchild, so
yes.
You're really excited?
Yes, oh, very.
So what was going through your mind when you thought it was just a regular visit with nothing unusual?
Oh, I was just looking forward to seeing, seeing her on the ultrasound, and just, it was, that was my first time.
Counting the fingers and toes.
Yeah, I know, yeah.
What did you find out that day?
Well, when at the doctor's office, the technician, obviously she saw something that was wrong. And so they immediately told us to go right over to the hospital.
How did Rachel react when she got the news?
Well, of course, she was in tears. We both were. It was just an awful time.
Rachel's husband, Brett, was away on business at the time. I asked him to take me back to that day.
I got a page from my father because I was out of town when we first found out. And I knew right away when the page came up and I saw Dad's number, because Rachel and my mom were at the doctor's to do the second ultrasound. We'd already been through one and it had gone real well. Everything looked like it was going great. So I felt comfortable being out of town and having Mom there for the second ultrasound. When I saw the number come up and saw it was my dad calling, that was really strange, and it set me off pretty quick that something was wrong. So I called and he gave me the news, and it was hard. 2-hour drive home, and just all those thoughts racing into my head.
What exactly did he say to you? Did he give you details?
He communicated to me that it wasn't looking real good, and that it would be either death or severe mental retardation, and that was the limit of the knowledge for a couple hours there until I got home.
What did you say to your wife when you first saw her?
I don't remember what I said. I remember it clearly. I can remember what she was wearing. I can remember where we hugged. I don't remember the conversation clearly, except just shock for the first probably number of hours there, with not a lot to say. What do you say in that situation? I'm here and we'll get through this.
When we return, Rachel shares with us what the doctor found during a routine ultrasound and how this would bring Brett and Rachel face to face with some tough decisions.
I don't remember if he gave us an exact, like she's going to die or anything at that point, but it was, this child is not going to be a typical child.
Thank Thank you for inviting us into your home. Each week we feature real people who deal with real-life issues head-on. Some of their experiences are uplifting, while others will break your heart. But in the end, the message is clear. Those who follow biblical principles on the issues of life are blessed. Become a partner with us in providing a positive, life-affirming message to help change the way the next generation values innocent human life. Please consider a generous gift to help offset the costs of producing this important quality programming. You can donate on our secure website at facinglife.tv or by calling the phone number on your screen during normal business hours. Together, we can make a real difference for life.
As a young couple, Brett and Rachel Dabe decided to start a family. In December of 1995, they were excited to find out their first baby was on the way. Then, 4 months later, Brett and Rachel learned their unborn child had a life-threatening diagnosis.
It was, hydrocephalus. It didn't look good. Now with hydrocephalus, it affects how the brain develops, and on the screen where the water was collecting, it just looks like big black, pools, if you will, of water, and she hardly had any brain tissue, it looked like.
Hydrocephalus is derived from the Greek word hydro, meaning water, and cephalus, meaning head. It literally means fluid in the brain. A clear fluid, referred to as spinal fluid, surrounds the brain and spinal cord. When distributed evenly and flowing properly, this fluid protects the brain, acting as a shock absorber. In this case, the spinal fluid was not circulating properly, causing too much pressure and hindering brain development. It posed a major threat to the life of this baby.
I don't remember if he gave us an exact, like she's going to die or anything at that point, but it was, this child is not going to be a typical child at that point. We were scheduled to see the geneticist the next day, which was a Friday. My parents came down, his father went with us, just to see if there was some sort of a genetic problem from one side of the family or the other. We were ready for the suggestion of abortion. And I remember her saying, kind of going in that direction. She wasn't saying abortion, she wasn't, saying anything to that effect, but she was headed in that direction. And I remember saying, that's not an option. And she said, even if this child is profoundly retarded, and I cut her off, I said, it's not an option, move on. And so we moved on from there.
It's estimated 14,000 abortions are performed each year after parents find out their baby has a congenital birth defect. Faced with the dilemma of having a child which they told you would probably not survive delivery, abortion never crossed your mind?
Our belief is that God is in control of life, and it never, ever entered our mind that we would not abide by what God communicates in this area at all.
Has anybody ever said to you that you shouldn't have let her live or you should have chosen abortion?
No.
We made, I think, our position pretty clear from the get-go. Yeah, and there was a degree of respect for that position. That was pretty much the message. Once we got the geneticist communicating that maybe abortion was the best way to go, we took our stand, and from that point, I think we got the respect that I think we deserved on the subject.
Yeah.
Has there been any time through all of this that you second-guessed that decision at all?
No.
Never once?
No.
There's been certainly challenges during her life, but
where you might wish things were a little different, but we never would have wanted her dead.
Okay. Was it hard emotionally to know you were carrying a baby that, in all likelihood, from what you've been told, would die?
Yes, it was. And I think what helped me through it was I kept a prayer journal through that time. And whenever I'd be angry or upset or sad or whatever emotion I happened to be feeling, I would go and write in my prayer journal. And by the end, I can remember one specific time I was very angry with the situation. And by the end, I just felt this calmness of everything is going to be fine. Don't worry.
The cause for worry was spawned by the grim prognosis that upon birth, their little girl would only have, at best, a 5% chance of breathing on her own. If so, medical experts said she would not live for more than a week. So Brett and Rachel decided to prepare for the worst.
We got the best, and the best said, there's no chance you're going to be able to help the situation.
So you didn't plan to leave the hospital with a baby in your arms?
No.
No.
I'd already been to the funeral home, and I'd examined the grave site, and we were all ready to, finish it out and move on with our lives. That seemed to be God's plan, and we were ready, prepared for that.
When we come back, Brett and Rachel adjust to the unexpected emotions that come with being parents to their first baby.
That was a pretty traumatic period of time, just seeing her, as many tubes as you can imagine coming out of a little girl.
Facing life.
Whether you're a student needing answers, a parent needing help, or a concerned citizen wanting to make a difference, Life Issues Institute has the resources you need to put your values into action. Life Issues Institute is an international educational organization committed to protecting innocent human life. Life Issues Institute knows what it takes. That's why millions throughout the world turn here for help. Life Issues Institute has authored more pro-life publications than any other entity in the world, and its materials are printed in over 30 languages. Radio broadcasts, newsletters, and a website filled to the brim with the answers you're looking for are just a click away. Go to facinglife.tv and click on the link to Life Issues Institute to find out more about how you can change the heart of a nation.
On July 31st, 1996, Rachel Dabe went to the hospital for a scheduled C-section. That day in the delivery room, Faith Dabe took her first breath. An ACT doctor said she would only have a 5% chance of accomplishing. Faith's first breath gave unexpected hope to her parents and doctors.
Do you remember the first time they placed Faith in your arms?
Yes.
Did you ever think that opportunity would come, though, where you could hold your live daughter?
Not as a live daughter, no.
When everything actually started going not as expected, just like the emotions started running very high, and then there's all this hope all of a sudden.
Did it seem like a burden on your shoulders that then you'd have to pick that up somewhere and help her through life? Was that what concerned you?
I just remember there were certain decisions that had to be made that were seemingly big decisions. Rachel was still in the hospital recovering from, obviously, surgery. Faith was across the city in another hospital, so I was having to go from one to the other. And in the process, because certain decisions had to be made rather immediately, it was intimidating at 25 to be in a room with no one and then have a doctor and the doctor's assistant and the whole residential staff come in there and talk about decisions that had to be made regarding Faith's life. It was a little overwhelming. I just remember going home, and I was home alone. I can specifically remember the side of the bed and in the prayer. I just let it all out and said, God, I don't know what you've got planned here, but let her live, and we'll help her. And whatever she needs, we'll get it done.
The medical procedures began to ensure Faith had a chance to live.
Right after she was born, the doctor had a meeting with me to talk about putting a shunt in. And the shunt was designed to help the fluid that was in her brain, in her head, to actually flow down into really the stomach cavity, to reduce the fluid that had accumulated while she was in the womb. Without that, it would be a real struggle for her going forward because there could be a continual accumulation of fluids.
Then, 8 months later, Faith underwent open heart surgery to fix a hole between the ventricles of her heart.
Literally, that was a pretty traumatic period of time, just seeing her, as many tubes as you can imagine coming out of a little girl, and then I think a year and a half in, she also had surgery on her hip, and Faith was literally in a cast from her midsection all the way down to her ankles. There's been times you say, God, you know, work with us here a little bit, because you know, this is not making a lot of practical sense here. But you look back as parents after so many years and you go, I don't know how we got through that period of time.
Yeah.
Coming up, we'll visit Faith in the classroom and hear what she has taught her teacher.
She doesn't look at the world the same way that we do.
Facing life.
Every day, people face critical life or death choices. The mission of Life Issues Institute is to educate them about the beauty and uniqueness of each stage of human life, empowering people to act from knowledge and not out of fear. Helping others make life-affirming choices wouldn't be possible without the financial support of compassionate people like you who understand the value of every life. We invite you to become a charter member of Life Issues Institute's Saving Babies Club. As a member, we'll send you our monthly communication, Life Update, to keep you informed on critical life issues in our ever-changing world. You'll also receive a special gift to remind you of your partnership in helping to protect innocent human life. Help us empower those making life or death decisions by joining today. Visit our website at facinglife.tv to learn how you can make the difference that saves a baby's life.
Facing life. Facing life.
Faith Dabe wasn't expected to live more than a week. Years later, she continues to defy medical predictions as she lives and learns with each passing day.
How do you think Brett and Rachel have done over these 11 years?
Fantastic.
In what ways?
Well, whatever they can do to help Faith, I mean, or to motivate her, to they'll just try. Rachel, I know she must get on the internet where she finds out everything she can that might help Faith, and they've done this through the whole time, and it's great.
What have some of the challenges been? Certainly, this has not been smooth sailing,
No.
having a daughter who's profoundly handicapped. So what have some of the challenges day to day?
Well, early on, just getting her to sit up on her own it took 2 years to
Right.
get to that point.
Yeah, it did.
But that was a big day, you know, so that was exciting. And then getting her to walk, and you know, everything just takes a lot longer than with a typical child for Faith. You know, trying to figure out what she wants or needs also can be a little challenging because she does have some limited communication.
Tell me about Faith's personality. What's that like?
It depends on the day.
Yeah.
And the hour, possibly the minute.
A typical kid then, eh?
Yeah, yeah. She likes to be with people.
In a lot of ways, I mean, she is what you would see in a 1 to 3 year old, where they really don't want to be alone. It's that human interaction is really crucial. There's not a lot of desire for independence, so and it's neat because she will look for that